Don't cry for me, buffet people. Your fears, they are not valid. If you are skinny, so is a salad. Thank you. My name's John Pinette. Thank you.
John Pinette. John Pinette, so someday you're going to get these people to like you, John.
Her name was Lola.
I seen John Pinette get audiences laughing so hard they asked him to stop. Son of a bitch, still here!
Persona on stage, the way he told the joke, the way he set up his facial expression.
When John Pinette walks on stage, you start just giggling.
What do you think of the new suit?
Is he could segue out of nowhere and then come back to the joke 20 minutes later.
I think it makes me look fat.
And the whole place would go nuts.
The hottest spot north of Havana.
There's great comics and then there's amazing comics.
Yeah, he's legendary.
Open for Frank Sinatra.
Mr. Sinatra, part of this is for you. Thank you very much.
Starred in a Broadway musical in Manhattan.
His name was
Starred in a movie with Gwyneth Paltrow, and another one with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Looking prosperous there.
Right, that's what Adam's called.
Was the central figure in the final episode of the most popular sitcom of all time.
Well, there goes the money for the lipo.
And released the funniest CD ever made.
You go now! I love this little thing. This little. We will make no wine before it's time. I'll tell you the journey. So I've lost from, say, my biggest, which was 2000. No, the year 2000. I've lost about 200 pounds.
Wow.
And been a pleasure.
That sucks. Imagine that your whole life you're battling weight, you finally conquer it. You know, and then that's it. It's like...
Well, that was the only thing he was battling.
He had liver and heart problems, you know?
Yeah.
And he had a stomach stapled at one point.
And then he went to like rehab recently.
And he would crush up Percocets and put it in his drink. Jesus.
Everybody talks about Kinnison and Dice and Pryor. Pinette was wild.
Now, I like John, but every day he gets up and systematically thinks, how can I kill myself today?
We were both kind of going through the exact same struggles in different ways. Just being alone on the road.
He was one of the most caring, giving, open people.
And he gave me, like, I think $50 for the strip club. And I'm like, what a great guy. This is such a weird story. And then we murdered a stripper. What a great guy.
When you start in comedy, you learn how to treat other comics by how kind comics are to you. And when someone is kind like that, it sticks with you.
I actually got to meet John Pinette a couple of times. Very nice. He's very nice. He's very, very nice. Very funny.
John Pinette was a guy I saw where I was just like, what the fuck was that? Every time you think it got to the height of how funny it could be, it went to another level and then another and another.
I try to be a man for all seasons. You might hear a word or two. But other than that, I try to make it for everybody. I really do. It's just something that's evolved over 24 years and continues to evolve. There's some food stuff in there, but there's a lot of life stuff in there too. Some of you are asking, I wonder how much of this show will be about food. Quite a bit.
Where'd you grow up?
I was born and raised right outside of Boston, Massachusetts. Malden, Massachusetts. My neighborhood was like half Irish, half Italian. Pinette is actually a French name. My ancestry is French and Irish. My stomach is Italian. I have 2 sisters and a brother. I'm the youngest by 9 years. In my act, they say, we grew up, poor. I grew up poor, not the kind of poor where you go, oh, we were poor, but we never knew it. I was certain of it, and I was not happy about it. My father was a bartender at the Irish American, so I grew up basically in a bar. That's where I started my, dialects and stuff, because it had all of his friends from Ireland. And they'd come up to me and go, oh, you're Bobby Pinette's kid, aren't you? Look at him shaking his belly. Clancy, come over here. Have you met Bobby Pinette's chubby little kid? I had a wonderful childhood.
Now, this bar must have provided you with an audience, too. Right?
Oh, that's where I started. I started when I was like 5 or 6. I would do voices from The Wizard of Oz.
Prime ribs and pork chops and scampi, oh my. Prime ribs and pork chops and scampi, oh my.
Is your mom and dad still with us? Are they?
No. My mom passed away when I was 18.
Oh.
So, and Dad went when I was 25. My dad, God rest his soul, was an unbelievable cook. I mean, unbelievable cook. A beef stew, he would sit for hours and make food. He made the best spaghetti sauce. He would put like chicken wings in there. Unbelievable.
What were some of the nicknames you acquired in school?
Tiny. Absolutely. Tiny.
Tiny?
It's the only nickname I ever had. I was an accountant, but, the lunch hours were very short. I was at the job for about 6 months, and for the last 3 months of the job, instead of doing my bank reconciliations and everything else, I wrote jokes.
But how did you end up in comedy? Where did you start? What led you to it?
I started in 1986 in Boston. I went up on stage, open mic night. I invited all my friends from work. And it was just a great group of guys to start with.
You invited a bunch of accountants to an open mic night?
Absolutely. Well, I got them all drunk.
And Johnny Pinette, I started with Johnny. He started probably 6 months ahead of me, maybe 8 months ahead of me.
Right.
And he took off like a rocket in Boston. Half the time he would get like a standing ovation.
Yeah.
He'd been in the business about a year.
I didn't know anything about stand-up, and I'm still in the learning process, which is the joy of it, but...
First time I ever saw him, all I had heard was the legend. He started doing comedy, and like within 6 months was headlining.
I looked at how funny these guys are, and it was a template for like how I wanted to be as far as how funny I wanted to be.
We always said by the time we came around, you had to leave Boston to headline Boston. The Boston comedy gods weren't leaving, and you weren't going to get funnier than them, so you had to go out and get TV credits. But John Pinette was so funny, he plowed through all of that.
We either loved you or we hated you.
He would murder. Look, I had to go on after him at Nick's a few times.
I played a room called Nick's.
We had SWAT team on second show Friday night.
Yeah. The audience was literally, might as well have been rampaging fucking bears that were rabid.
Audiences didn't know how to perform necessarily. I mean, how to behave, so they would heckle.
No, really, don't mess with me, because I don't come down to the bus station and slap the dick out of your mouth when you're working, do I?
They would, essentially, they'd behave like people in Long Island behave right now.
Oh, get on here, motherfucker!
The confrontational nature of stand-up. I mean, a lot of times a stand-up show is a fight.
The guy fucking came at me.
Stand-up was combat in some ways.
I used to do a silly, like, Wizard of Oz thing, and, I might do it tonight for fun. But halfway through the Wizard of Oz, you would hear something like, "The fuck did you let Hooley drink scotch for? Now he's fucking hammered." It really was no miracle. What happened was just this. You're fucking paying. I paid over at Remington's. This is bullshit. Come out, wherever you are.
Because if the comedians like the place, they're the best salesmen in the world.
Listen, I'm sick of listening to you yell. I'm making a TV show here, okay? And you're yelling. Just get up.
It's like Nick's Comedy Club held like 350 people. And it was just a money-making machine. And it was run by the boys.
Yeah. And the fellas that run Nick's were kind of a tough gang of boys, if you know what I'm saying. They got their hooks into him, I guess, career-wise, like early.
Really?
Yeah, he was like under wraps to only play Nick's in Boston.
And they had like some of the guys sign agreement saying they couldn't perform anywhere else.
That was the rumor in town that somebody had a piece of him.
Wow, he's a fighter.
Yeah.
Where the mob takes his
No,
career.
exactly.
Wow.
Or showbiz, Sinatra.
Yeah.
But they were making. This is back in the 80s. I remember one of the guys telling me they were making $3,000, $3,500 a weekend.
Jeez.
So why would you leave?
I listen to Madonna today. I like Madonna. She has weird songs though. Like a virgin, whoo, but I'm keeping my baby. Make up your mind. Well, that's it for me. Thank you very much.
John Pinette, ladies and gentlemen. John.
The comedy boom, which began in the 70s, comedy clubs began to spring up because they're very cheap.
Every city, including mid-sized cities in America, had sometimes multiple comedy clubs.
It was crazy.
But in the 80s, it's like there was, Boston had 6 clubs.
You'd have rooms of 200, 250 people full.
There had been an 80s comedy boom, and then it went bust.
1988.
Where like all these clubs closed, and so there were too many comedians.
It was great for a little while, like anything, and then we ruined it.
When I was in Boston, comedy was really, really hot. You could work every night. And then I came to Los Angeles and starved to death. I remember doing 21 shows from a Los Angeles gig, $800.
Wow.
I said, what will I do with all this money?
Yeah, I went out to L.A. once. He was already out there. I don't know why. I'm 3 years into the business. I thought, L.A., here I come. He just gotten some TV deal already.
Right.
And he goes, yeah, come by. Stay at the... So it's right on Sunset Strip, this shitty motel. He's laying on the bed. I come in. He's smoking a joint. And then he orders $140 with room service. And the guy delivers it. They were rolling in carts and bags and shit for like 8 minutes. He was laughing, giggling because he just smoked a joint. You know what I mean? He's got like French fries on his chest.
Right.
I'm eating this giant sandwich. I couldn't even hold it with 2 hands. I had nowhere to be, and he was just so nice to me.
Yeah.
He had shit to do. We had meetings later on that day, and
Right, that's what I've heard. Everyone says he's like the nicest guy ever.
Evening at the Improv. There was Caroline's. There was Sunday Comic. There was MTV Half-Hour Comedy Special. Now they wouldn't pay you. It's like $300, and you say hi to Pauly Shore. To get on, a show now, it's a real dog and pony show.
A Tuesday at Nick's.
Yes.
And it was like fucking, there was like maybe 30 people. This place held 400 people. It's just like a lull. It was like when I started was the 80s hangover and just stand-up was dead. And there was like 30 people and there was a bunch of, bitter comics going, this place used to be packed. There'd be a line around the block. You should quit. All these fucking guys saying that. So fucking Pinette just dropped by, rest his soul. He just dropped by and he went up and did 12 minutes and got a legit. It wasn't, oh, you're John Pinette. Thank you for stopping by. You're famous. It was, he fucking murdered. I think that was the first time he was it was that era when he was doing that You Go Now buffet bit.
Yes.
That was his bit. The
Yeah,
Chinese...
you've been here 4 hours. You go now.
You go now.
You go
You
now.
here 4 hours.
Yeah.
You scared my wife.
4 hours.
You here 4 hours.
A vegetable only.
It was the
You
best.
eat the vegetable.
Oh, he toured with Frank Sinatra. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that was his big break.
Now, how the hell does that happen? All your biography says is Frank asked him to tour. That don't happen. What did he say? You're coming with
He
me?
thought I was Gleason. They didn't tell him.
Oh, come on.
It's a thing where my agency did the overall packaging for that. The original tour was like
Minnelli and all-
Minnelli and
Right.
Dean Martin, and Dean lasted about 2 shows.
Right.
I guess it was Shirley MacLaine and Mr. S, and they needed like somebody to do 10 minutes. Now Tom Dreesen did a lot of work. Usually was the opener or Brad Garrett, but I got it for like a couple of tours, and I did Vegas with him. So you'd be invited to dinner, and it's dinner is at 10, and don't be there at 10:01. And I was eating chow mein and chasing it with tequila. And I did an impression of Liza Minnelli at the table. Now, I swear to God, I throw a glass of water in my face because, she sweats like Elvis. And I start singing, $88, Papa!
I went to go see Sinatra at the Sands with my dad, and Pinette opened up, and I remember going, I want to do that. A comedian gets to hang out with Sinatra? I'm like, this is what I want to do.
A lot of people said, oh, you'll never meet him. And 2 nights later, I'm calling drunk with him. We did the Greek Theater, and in the front row was Gregory Peck, Dinah Shore, Hal Roach, Chevy Chase, Martin Short, Danny DeVito, Rhea Perlman, and Lionel Richie. Madonna was backstage.
we didn't have much to talk about.
And he was a really decent man. He met my family. He was very, very nice. I just can't thank him enough.
That's when I met Pinette, right there, when he had just gotten off the road.
We're at the food court at the Sands Hotel and Casino. One of the biggest comedy stars that you will ever meet in your life is John Pinette.
Hi, David. How are you?
Fine.
1 second. A chili cheese dog. Can I get you anything?
I'll have a Diet Coke. Just a Diet Coke. You're out on the road. Now you're out with Howie Mandel. But in the past 6 months, you've worked with Frank Sinatra opening and Steve Lawrence and Eddie Gourmet. That's a pretty weird mix there.
It takes a little working with the act, but laughter is universal. You can make anyone laugh.
Right. So I've always pranked opening act. I don't know if you know, we've talked about some of the stories on the show, but always the opening acts. Who was the comedian that was on the road when I was throwing the chairs?
That was John Pinette.
Oh, John Pinette. I love John Pinette.
We had dressing rooms right next to his, so you'd say, Rich, come in here. And you bring me in your dressing room, John Pinette could hear everything, and you were like, what the hell? You'd be throwing stuff, you're screaming, you're going crazy. And then I would come outside, and John Pinette would look at me, and he goes, dude, you can't let him talk to you like
that. Who were your comedy role models, John?
Oh, my goodness. Probably Jonathan Winters, Gleason, George Carlin, Richard Pryor, Howie Mandel.
You'll work another week with Howie.
John Pinette, who is a great comic, didn't talk to me at the end of his life because he fell asleep and I painted his toes black. And he couldn't get the black off his toes, and he liked to swim, and we got thrown out of a hotel pool because they thought he had gangrene, and he didn't. I painted his toes. Our friendship really suffered. I don't have the nerve today at this age and now. I still love practical jokes, but I don't have the whatever that took to drag things on for a week or two.
I'm only doing this, Howie, because they're comping the room service. No, really, I love them. I tell jokes in saloons, so when people say you can take a couple weeks off and do a movie, I do it. I did Revenge of the Nerds 3 and 4. I played an English nerd, and his name was Trevor Goeth. So I had the English accent throughout the whole movie. It's really wonderful to be here.
Now, how did you study for that? Did you watch tapes? Or?
You know what? It's just,
It's bullshit?
Exactly.
I tell you, the fondest memory was John Pinette was in that movie. Don and I got to hang out, and there were times when Roland Mesa, the director, and this is back with film. So he goes, okay, we got a few more feet left for the day. Henry, let's get that scene together, and you and John just do what you do. And so he and I would just riff, and none of it made the movie because it was had nothing to do with the movie. But it was funny. We'd start kind of in character and context of the plot, but then we would just go off on a tangent. We finally had to tell the other actors, look, just jump in and hang on and try not to interrupt us.
Parker Lewis was great. The coach, Hank Kohler, I played on the final year. And, I was smitten with Melanie Chardoff, who was the principal, Grace Musso. That dream sequence dance number. I never thought I'd get to do that, but I got that one. I mean, they wrote great stuff for you. Roger Shulman ended up writing some of Shrek. Obviously I usually get the part of the big guy, the lovable slob, and there's not a lot of depth to the part, but Parker Lewis had a lot of depth to it. I just did the one scene there with him and Danny DeVito. Met Danny a few times, and he's a real pistol. Arnold was also very gracious, very courteous. It's kind of like after Parker Lewis and hadn't worked a lot. The director was Ivan Reitman, of course, who has directed, pretty much all some of the great comedies. Ghostbusters, he produced Animal House, Stripes. The actual interview is that, it just had a few lines to read. But I interviewed with, my name's Dewey Oxberger, but my friends call me Ox. The doctor said I swallow a lot of aggression and a lot of pizza. So that was John Candy's line from Stripes.
You are famous, I think most famous, for being the carjack victim in the last episode of Seinfeld.
That was great.
And
it was on the other night.
Yeah, it's on all the time.
Yeah,
actually.
I know. Good, I'll get a check in the mail. They called up, and Mark Hirschfeld is the casting guy for NBC, and he had cast me before, and I know they needed a big guy, and they said yes. So. Listen, the craft services and the catering. There's a guy carving turkey. There's a guy carving prime rib. There's a pasta bar. When I did Revenge of the Nerds, they threw me a sandwich. They were very nice. They were very cordial. We're talking about people that have worked together for 9 years.
I don't expect that people will know who I am or what I do or anything. 70 million people watched the Seinfeld episode, but I haven't, ran into one fucking person that said, "Oh yeah, that's right."
Really?
Yeah, everybody I talked to never saw the fucking thing, doesn't know who Seinfeld is. And here I am being all grandiose.
I'm the guy that put him in jail.
I was the guy that put it. Yeah, what was it? Seinfeld? Do you know Seinfeld at all? It was a really great thing for my stand-up because it was a point where I wasn't doing a lot on TV, and it really gave me a boost. So I'd take a bullet for Jerry for putting me in that.
So the one guy I think about from time to time who was very skilled, prominent stand-up comedian. His name John Pinette.
Yeah.
Familiar?
Nope.
I think is it Pinette? Like I'm seeing Pinette.
Yeah, he was a big fat guy.
Yeah.
Who did big fat humor.
Yes.
But it was funny.
Yes.
John Pinette or Pinette. Either way, he's a big heavy set guy, died in 2014 at age 50. So he'd be 58 today. And we'll just play you some of his set from the. Happily, he was on the Tonight Show. All these guys were on the Tonight Show.
I went out for Chinese food recently. I have some good friends that own Chinese restaurants. Chinese buffets, though, I'm usually not welcome. They have my picture. The slash doors. No buffet. Buffet not for you. You're crazy. It's not my fault, though. You get hungry again with Chinese food. And it's a different kind of hunger. You go from full to starving. There's nothing in between. You go, "Oh, my God, I can't believe I ate all that chow mein." Hey, look, they brought egg rolls. Chill. I went to this one Chinese buffet. I got a flyer in the mail. It says grand opening, Chinese buffet. So I go with a couple of large mammal friends. I get to the front door, and the owner's there, and he goes, "We closed." It's noon. "No, we closed." Says grand opening. "No, we closed. No buffet here. We dry clean now. You go. My name's John Pinette. Thank you very much."
I've heard him tell that joke multiple times.
That was his bit. The
Yeah,
Chinese...
you bet your 4 hour. You go now.
Well, he had...
That's the one.
He had a night. He probably had a nightclub, the club version of it that was 11 minutes, and then there's this one which you have to whack down to 63 seconds.
Right.
So he's bringing, he's reeling it in.
As Emmy reminded me, he was in the finale of Seinfeld, the one getting robbed. Remember the whole thing about the citizen's arrest? That was the whole episode. They all went to jail.
Oh, wow.
Probably working it for 20 years.
I
mean, he was just a perennial. He was just out there all the time.
We know the Chris Rocks and we know the Louis C.K.'s, but yeah, John Pinette, those kinds of guys can get overlooked.
Oh, he toured with Frank Sinatra. Is that what you're saying? John Pinette?
Yeah, that was his big break.
Wow.
Early break. Joined the touring cast of Hairspray.
That's amazing. Wait, he could have played her mom, like Divine and John Travolta. Did he? Because that's always like a cross-dressed role.
I guess he...
Either way.
Edna Turnblad.
That's right. That's the mother.
He didn't play the gym coach.
Tracy, hey, baby, look at me. I'm the cutest chicken that you ever did see. Hey, Tracy, hey, baby, look at us. We're a terror team that's half as fabulous. I like no, pass now. Say hello, it's red carpet ride. Yes, I know that the world's spinning fast now. Tell old Bridget to step aside.
He starred or co-starred in the with Thomas Jane, yesterday's guest, in The Punisher. What?
Damn.
No.
Wait, are we talking about?
I don't know.
This is range.
I'm not sure.
It's really loud. Is it supposed to be that loud?
Oh, it's beautiful.
He hasn't slept all week.
How do you know?
Because I haven't slept all week.
What do you think he does?
Maybe he's an artist.
Emmy is going crazy because he loves the Punisher. He's like, yeah, totally. He's the neighbor.
John Pinette. See?
That's great.
But he had a career.
Oh.
Emmy was such a big fan.
Spanned years, yeah.
But we lost another really funny man, and way too soon. Comedian John Pinette died at just 50 years old. He provided us with so many laughs right here on this stage. And as we go to break, here he is performing on The View back in 1999.
I live in Las Vegas, and I'm a gambler, so you gamble, I go to the all-you-can-eat buffets. I figure if I'm going to lose at the tables, I'm getting them at the buffet. I lose $1,000, I see a sign, $8.95, all-you-can-eat. We'll see who wins this hand now, won't we? I do believe I have blackjack. I'm at the prime rib counter going, hit me again. I scare them, too. I walk in, I kick down the door. I'm starving!
John Pinette, when John Pinette's on stage, the crowd, it sounds like a jet's landing the entire time he's on stage. It's like, if you're like in the bowels of whatever theater, like you
What's going on up
perform,
there?
it's just, yeah, it's...
Is everybody okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This fucking just
Is it raining?
Screaming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unbelievable sad day in comedy yesterday. The great John Pinette passed away, and I gotta tell you a great John Pinette story. He was just an unbelievable guy. I only got to meet him a handful of times, but he's one of those guys. You met him the first time, it's like you knew him, like cliche, like you knew him forever. Fortunately, I never had to try to follow him. I did one show with him. I can't even remember where the hell we were. It was me, him, Kathleen Madigan. It was just a fucking great lineup of people, and like he closed it, and Jesus Christ, he was one of those guys that and it's that Boston style. It's like, I got you, and I'm not letting you go, and I'm not letting you get up, and like nobody was the epitome of that more than him. So gonna miss you, buddy.
I was like, man, you just think about maybe dying in a hotel room, and you're like, that's rough.
Yeah, damn. Yeah, like Geraldo died in Jersey.
I know.
I think in a Hilton. Wonder where Mitch Hedberg died. Give that a goog. Hotel room in Westminster Hotel.
John Pinette died in a hotel room, too. A lot of comedians die in hotel rooms.
Man, I don't want to speak ill of the dead, but I did a gig. I'm not going to say where. And I had the crazy, eccentric limo driver. He's like, oh, he's got his tie loose. He's got wacky hair. He's like, he's driving with a foot on the dash. He's got his own car. It's got the fuzzy dice. It's all decked out. He's like, I've been picking up comics since 1979. I've had everybody, Steve Martin, Pryor, you name it. And he said he had Pinette. And he's like, Pinette, he was like, make you get off the airport, go right to a liquor store, two fifths of tequila. Then he had his own shit. He get hookers, it was like, holy shit, Pinette. He was like this cute, fat guy.
My mom liked him.
Every mom loved Pinette. He was huge in the Midwest. He was a great guy. I mean, killer comic.
Such a nice guy.
John Pinette, if you haven't looked him up for the folks at home.
And yeah, beast, for sure.
Beast.
It's hard to do what we do and not drink. It is hard to, like, come down after a set and not come to it. Like, it's such an abrupt change of pace.
It really is.
Because you do feel, like, incredible up there. You feel so good.
Yeah.
And then you come off and you're like, oh, yeah, that's it.
I would love to see John Pinette, if he had lost the weight, still doing the Chinese buffet bit in its entirety.
Oh, my God.
Just a skinny guy being like, when they see me, they're worried.
Yeah.
And it's just
they're like, why?
Yeah. He ended every goddamn... That poor guy's... I've talked... His legacy, he was so funny.
So funny.
Every CD ends with the longest Chinese accent bit you've ever heard in your entire life. Though, by the way, I was in Philly.
Yeah.
There's an old man there. It's very it's the eatery in Philly.
Sure.
And you just sit at a table with people. And this old man, comedian, he said, oh, I like that Italian. I said, Sebastian Maniscalco. He said, and that woman with the manicure thing. And I forget what that comedian's name is. But immediately he was like, she does the Chinese accent. And then he starts doing it for me.
God.
And I just thought, like... got sticking power. I gotta say, this is an old man. He does not watch stand up. He doesn't know Chappelle did a new special, but the Chinese accent that
Stuck in his
penetrated
head.
his consciousness. This fucking guy, he'd go. And he'd be waiting for that accent the whole guy. That's probably why John Pinette did it every time. Is probably people came and he didn't do the accent. And they said, you didn't do the thing.
Or in honor of John Pinette, you should all go watch his buffet bit if you've never seen it, where he's in the Asia buffet and the owner is screaming at him, because John was quite chubby. You stay long. You stay too long. You scared my wife. You go home now. A vegetable only. That's John Pinette's joke. Don't yell at me. Go listen to it on iTunes. It's funny. It's probably called Buffet. That's probably the name of the track. Anyway, I laughed every time he did it, and I probably saw it performed 10,000 times live. And eventually he didn't want to do it, but he kept doing it because he knew people liked it. And that's the kind of comedian I like. You know what? Just because you're tired of something doesn't mean they're tired of it. You get your ass out there and you earn your money and you do the jokes you're tired of, if they like them. I think that's the right thing to do. And I won't speak of some comedians who won't do that, but I will tell you that Jimmy Walker refused to say dynamite on stage and people got very angry.
I was a host, Ian Bagg was the feature, and John Pinette was the headliner. Columbus, Ohio.
What a murderous lineup.
That's to date, probably one of the best lineups I've ever been a part of.
Yeah.
John Pinette would do 45 minutes of brand new material that would devastate.
Oh.
And then he would say, I have some friends in town that asked me to do an old bit. I don't normally do it anymore. Here it is. And he would do the killer whale buffet joke. There wasn't a friend at, anybody in Columbus, but it was just a way. He was like, I know you want to hear this, so here it is. And he did it. And I was like, there's no better way to get into a bit than that you don't do anymore than that.
I wouldn't be shocked if I stole that every now and then.
Dude, and I don't think John would be mad about it because it's just a way to frame a bit that you've already written.
You know the first dude I ever saw do an encore?
No.
John Pinette.
Really?
You remember John Pinette?
Fuck yes.
But dude, I got a chance to open for Pinette and they were like, I'm just like, I had never seen this stand-up. I just knew him from the last episode of Seinfeld because I was such a Seinfeld head. I opened for Pinette. I'm like, it's going to be all fat jokes, whatever.
Yeah.
And I watched him. First of all, it was at a theater, 1,700 people, sold out. I go, all right, I'm going to go up there. We're starting. And he goes, all right, let's go. And I go, oh, you're going to come up? He goes, yeah, well, who's going to introduce you? And I'm like, oh, you're going to introduce me? He goes, yeah. And I was like, Jesus, what a class act. You know what I mean? He introduces me from the God mic, says to everyone, hey, everybody, it's John. And the place goes nuts.
Yeah.
And he's like, how's everyone doing tonight? Blah, blah, blah. And he goes, before I come out, I'll be out in a little bit. I got a great friend who's here with me. Gave me the most genuine, introduction of all time. And then I went out, had a great set. And then I sat backstage and watched him just annihilate.
Yeah.
And his perspective on fat was just different than anyone I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He finishes, comes off, and I'm backstage and I'm like, dude, that was insane. I go, you want me to say goodnight to everybody? He goes, nah, give him a second. I'm going to go back out. And I go, well, you're going back out? He goes, yeah. And then he went back out and did the hits. And I just was like, holy shit, I'd never seen that.
That's what I believe that's what a comedy show should be. I mean, in my opinion, if I watch Ron White, I really want to see tater salad.
Yeah.
But Louis Anderson or John Pinette, these were the comics I watched growing up.
Oh, man. I just watched John Pinette's You Go Now.
Oh, my God. It's one of the best bits
it is
of all time.
Iconic. This is iconic comedy bit. But if you look it up on here, what they had to do for the clip is, how they take out all the laughter and get to the next thing. So he just looks like a full ass racist because it's so endearing when you watch it.
Yes,
live.
Yeah, he was the murderer. I remember when I did a bringer show. I was a young comic doing a bringer show, and he was one of the special guests. And my mom sat through some fucking bad. My mom wanted to see me, and she saw through some fucking bad comedy. And then she was like, "All right, he saved it. He was really good."
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, she also sat through. Rich Voss went on, and he called a woman in the crowd. He goes, "Miss, look at you. You're a 2 on a Tuesday." And my mom was like, "Who was that repulsive man?"
Yeah, man. Pinette people used to bring Pinette full cheesecakes from the Cheesecake Factory.
Wow,
it was wild.
That's not good.
No, but it was It was fucking crazy.
But it's funny because this guy is so sweet. You worked with him.
Yeah.
Sweet guy, endearing guy, nice guy. Asians love him. But now this would just be torn up to pieces. Like, this is so
If you
offensive.
just do
Like
that
him with
bit,
one of the
course.
cheesecakes.
Yeah, yeah, right. No, we shouldn't just attack people.
Also, shit changes. Like, what you can say comedically is going to change. That's fine. Like, comedy will evolve, and guess what? If you're going up to the line with a bit, you're gonna have some fucking misfires. That's fine,
Yeah, and I also think he wrote this in '80s, the late '80s,
Exactly.
And so I do think you should have to apply the the rules of that time to whatever you're doing.
You really do. You have to. Yeah, you have to think about what was going on in the world at the time. Of course, you can't just watch it through today's lens. That's insane. you know?
Yeah. John Pinette.
Pinette.
Yeah. I like him because there's I guess baguette. Yeah. It should be Pinette. You're right.
I
grew up in France.
I was at the Montreal Comedy Festival years ago, and I was doing the John Pinette Gala. And they decided, wouldn't it be funny if in between each comedian, he came out and he spun a wheel and it stopped on one of his classic bits. And he would do it. So his most classic bit is
the Chinese
buffet.
Yeah.
So he comes out.
He was a big fact.
Yeah, he's no longer with us. He comes out after the first comedian and spins the wheel and it lands on Chinese buffet. Okay, the crowd goes nuts. Right. There's a fanfare, and he does the Chinese buffet bit, which he would be canceled for nowadays.
Yeah, because you got to do the Chinese voice.
You got to do the Chinese voice and whatever. So after the next comedian comes out, spins it again, it lands on Chinese buffet.
Wow.
Nobody checked or balanced the wheel.
No.
And it landed every single time on Chinese buffet.
Yeah, that was cooked. There's a magnet in there.
So he had to start doing things like, who has a lot of Chinese buffets is Minnesota. And then he would go into a joke about Minnesota.
Right.
Yeah. But I just thought it was so funny that nobody checked the wheel.
And let's get into another photograph right now of an old school comic that we used to do at the club a lot. And this is the last time we worked there. This is John Pinette. This is John Pinette. And we worked with John Pinette. We produced the show at the Count Basie, remember?
Oh, right, with Lori.
This is a picture backstage of me and John Pinette. So here's the point. This is Pinette working with us at the Count Basie. It's one of the last times I ever saw Pinette. And if you remember, we took him to dinner. We go to Bonacera next to the Count Basie. Show was sold out. And he orders an appetizer and 2 entrees, and I order an entree. And I'm saying that, and it sounds like I'm picking on him. I'm not. He just had a ton of food. Up in the green room, we had sandwiches and fruit and vegetable. And then when we finished dinner, he said, I really like this. Will you get me a meal for after the show?
Right.
And I went up and did 30 minutes. When I came off stage, Pinette had consumed all of the sandwiches and left the fruit and the vegetables. Now we got him a dinner to go. He gets off stage, he eats that dinner, then he eats all the fruit and vegetables. And then we get driven back to the hotel by our good friends, George and Beth, who are in this shot right here. Now, Pinette has just consumed 3 dinners, a bunch of sandwiches, all the fruit, all the vegetables. And we're driving back and he goes, can you stop at the 7-Eleven? And we pull in and he goes and gets a box of Entenmann's donuts, 12 donuts.
Right.
And I love John Pinette. But he's in the back of the car and he goes, would you like a donut? And I go, oh, no. And no one wanted a donut. And he goes, oh, thank God I didn't get enough. And I'll never forget it because I said, oh my God, this poor guy
That's sad.
Huh?
It's sad to have such an unhealthy relationship, with food.
I think that this is the problem with a lot of comics. They get on the road, you're lonely, something becomes your go-to.
Right, your comfort.
I don't believe Pinette was a big drinker. I don't remember him being a drinker.
I don't think he drank at all.
I don't, he didn't drink that night. But Pinette was one of those very sweet guys who always killed on stage.
I don't work the road. Like I lived on the road for years, and it was impossible to stay healthy. I mean, when I toured with John Pinette, then it was really impossible to stay healthy.
wow.
Yeah, when me and John were on the road together all those years, he used to joke because I would leave for like a couple of weeks, and I'd work out and lose all the weight, and then I'd come back, and he'd be like, "You're gonna lose." I'd gain 15 pounds in a 2-week tour with him. It was nuts.
Dude, what's crazy about Pinette was he started losing weight, and that's like around the time when he passed.
So he had his stomach stapled years before that, so he couldn't eat a lot.
Right, yeah.
A lot of it was just skin. So even when I was going out with him, even though we'd go to a restaurant, and the restaurant would bring us so much, he wouldn't even have to order it. Like they knew him.
Right.
They'd just fill the table up with food, and he would just pick it, all the different. He liked to taste all the different things.
Yeah.
And he'd eat late. Like we'd eat in the hotel room at 2 a.m. He'd have food waiting for us at like the hotel room sometime, like at the suite. We'd go.
Right,
But
yeah.
actually, right before he died, I was with him the week before. He looked great. He was wearing like regular jeans. Like it was amazing. He had lost. He had had like 40 pounds of skin removed or whatever it was.
Damn, holy
shit.
That sucks. Imagine that your whole life you're battling weight, you finally conquer it, and then that's it. That's like.
Well, that was the only thing he was battling too. So it was hard, but
the comedian John Pinette.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And I like John, but every day he gets up and systematically thinks, "How can I kill myself today?
Right.
What can I do?" And we were on this cruise. Lewis Black had this cruise last year. I'm not a cruise kind of guy, but it was fun with Lewis.
Right.
And he would crush up Percocets and put it in his drinks.
Jesus.
And he's fine the next day. He's laughing. He shows me he's got a purple foot from the gout.
Now, I remember Lewis did 2 cruises. I talk about it. I used to do jokes if I act about it. But John Pinette went, and John at that time was very much overweight, and he did a lot of our extracurricular things. And he kind of went missing for like a day. Oh. Yeah. Now, that's not unlike John, but also we're at sea. And I said, my friend Jim performs on cruise ships sometimes, and he told me they have morgues on cruise ships. Because I said, what if somebody dies on one? He goes, oh, no, they have a morgue, and they just wait till they get to the next port. They put you basically in a morgue. Oh. So I said to Lewis, if John has accidentally killed himself and ruined my vacation, I'm going to kill him twice. I'm going to kill him again because I was having a good time at that point. But then John turned up, thank God, and he was one of my best friends, so I can say those mean things without. He would have agreed with me.
Were you in town with him when this went?
No. So what happened was I was in L.A. with him. He was doing a warm up because he was coming back from being sick, and we were going to go on tour. The next week he was doing the Improv in Brea, maybe, or something like that. I don't know what I had. I had something else that I booked. And he's like, no, go do that. He's like, no, don't be away for 2 weeks. Go home. So I went home. I had gigs booked here. Did the weekend there. I had my friend open for him in California. And she was like, it's going great, it's going great. Then he flew back. We talked on the phone for like 5 days every day.
Wow.
And then he went to Pittsburgh for his niece's wedding, and that's where he passed away.
Right. Wow.
But I didn't process it probably until his funeral.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because your mind's blown. There's so many things going on.
Yeah, and then you were in survival mode because you got kids. You just got this house. What was your biggest part of your income just left because you put all your eggs in that one basket.
Right.
And it's just you just survive. You just. I think I didn't mourn that for like a couple of years. I think like 2 years later, I was still in total shock. And then what happened was they would have all these like John Pinette tribute nights, and they'd want me to be at them. So like I did one in L.A. They did this huge thing for him at the Improv, and I had to speak at it.
Wow.
Then they won at Caroline's, and I was just like, I don't want to speak at these things anymore because I was just walking on stage and I just break down within 5 seconds.
Yeah. You said you wrote with them too? You wrote.
Yeah. That was how I started really with him. Yeah. He actually was about to do a special. That was the whole tour we were going to do before he passed, and then he was going to tape a special. Right. That's most of that material I have on my computer still.
Wow.
In a file of jokes that people saw at clubs, but some didn't, and some stuff we were still working on. But he had an hour already. Like it was just kind of polishing up the hour.
Right, yeah.
And then I'm sure in that year there would have been another hour that came out of it. Sometimes to get him focused, I would just just open with these 2 jokes and then close with these 2 jokes. Right. And he'd be like, okay. And if he did that, everything in between, he would just, even though it was written, you didn't know what he was going to segue because he could segue out of nowhere and then come back to the joke 20 minutes later.
Yeah.
Like he could get off on a tangent and 20 minutes later be like, oh yeah, and then I was talking about what happened at the mall, and then the whole place would go nuts because they didn't know where it was coming from, you know? He's just a great performer. He was a great actor. He could sing. He was he could do musical. Like he was just, he had everything, you know, they call it like what is it? A triple threat. He was a quadruple threat.
Yeah, yeah.
He was a quadruple threat.
Man.
Sing, dance, comedy, act. He was a quadruple threat. So, but the best stuff he had wasn't even about food at the end. Like we were doing a lot of stuff just about him in situations that drove him crazy. A lot of stuff about TV, like at the time was all these crazy reality shows. He was doing a lot of stuff on reality shows on like the Amish Mafia and stuff like that, like the crab fishing show. I forget what it's called. With Deadliest Catch. He was just like, it's like, if you haven't watched the show, let me break it down for you. They go out and they fish for crabs. Sometimes they catch some crabs. Sometimes they don't catch some crabs. Then the next day they go out. They throw fish for crabs. Sometimes they catch the crabs. Now you should have saw the season finale. Phenomenal. They went out, catch for crabs. What I would do is I would sit outside. I'd have a desk right where he would be performing. Unless we were at a club, I'd be in agreement with the TV. But usually on the stage, I would have like a little desk and I'd have a paper, and I'd write opening and closing, and then I'd listen to the bit. I'd write the bit, and then I'd listen to him do the bit with all the funny lines in it. And if he said something new that I never heard before, I would write that down, and then I'd try to write 5 other things that went with that. This is funny. This is funny. Okay, I never heard him say that before. That got a laugh.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
and then what we would do is before he went on, we would riff about, oh, this is funny when you did this. This is funny. And then, you know, and sometimes he'd do that with me. He'd watch me and he'd be like, oh, we're going to do this next time. And then he would talk about my act. Like we would do that. And
you know, look, it's sad. It's not unexpected. He always had health problem. And then later on, I heard, you know, when I read in the paper today or whatever, he had liver and heart problems, you know.
Yeah.
And he had a stomach stapled at one point.
And then he went to like rehab recently. That was out recently.
Yes, he put himself in rehab a few months ago.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Johnny boy. He was a sweetheart of a fella.
And I was on the show with Pinette.
Oh, John Pinette.
John Pinette. And he was the last one, I think.
Now, they loved him.
They loved John. And he was the coolest dude.
One of my favorite radio stories is that John Pinette came in and there was this delicious cheesy potato casserole.
Oh, yeah.
And John Pinette talked to me about the casserole for 10. This is the best casserole I've ever had. I love this casserole.
And then he kept saying, you know what it's made out of? Angels.
John Pinette was such a great guy. If you're looking for something to do today, Google John Pinette and watch some of his comedy.
It's wonderful.
He was the funniest guy.
That buffet bit was legendary. Legendary.
Yeah, but it was very funny when he would talk about food. I took him to a really nice steak joint when he was here, and you talk about a guy who would take a menu seriously.
Oh, yeah.
And the waiter comes up and he's got 50 different questions. This was John Pinette. He really, really loved his food.
And I bet he fought you for the bill. A generous man. He really...
Yeah, no, I was fortunately, I had already cleared that, so I was able to pay. But what a great guy.
Yeah.
I became in awe of John Pinette after that, though, because I went on, I had a good set, but I saw how they were not an easy crowd. They were tired. It was hot. They'd been taping for a few. I was on next to last. And Pinette came on, and that motherfucker murdered and got a standing ovation, a deserved standing ovation. He is tremendous. First time I ever watched John Pinette do stand-up, and he was fucking awe-inspiring. He was so good. I did Montreal with him, and we had spoken earlier, just a great guy. Not a great crowd. I was on the show. Anthony Clark was on the show. I don't remember who else was. But I remember none of us were doing great. We were all doing okay. And then Pinette went on and fucking murdered.
Yeah.
And he was just so funny. I'm watching him, and he's doing this bit on gluten. And I'm like, God, who the fuck closes with a bit on gluten? Gluten! Yeah, he was really a funny guy.
My BFF, John Pinette, he would get more corporate gigs than I would get because he's just more popular like that. And quite frankly, he's better at them than I was. I'm good, but he was great because his jokes were totally appropriate for anywhere. But I used to say to John, if I want to make extra money, first I got to kill you. But the joke is implying that once those people are dead, you get to move up to their spot, or if they quit. But the dead part was funnier.
He was so funny.
Yeah, so funny.
God, I saw him recently. They were playing all these comics, and I never really get to sit and watch. And there was a bunch of comics from that era, and he was the funniest of all of them. He was so much better written than I remember.
Really?
Yeah, he was so colorful with his language and really painting a picture. And then he had the act behind it of his just.
Well, he also the theatrics. He
Yeah.
could sing.
Yeah.
The voices. I mean, wow, he was a special guy. I mean, he was like, I remember one time for his birthday, I middled for him, and it was his birthday, and he was like, "Come on, let's go to a strip club." And I'm like, "Really? Okay." And he gave me, like, I think $50 for the strip club, and I'm like, "What a great guy!" This is such a weird story. You know, like, and then we murdered a stripper. And I was like, "What a great guy!
What a great guy!"
One of my favorite comedians, one of the first ones that I grew up watching as a kid, was John Pinette. And he had his special "I Say Nay Nay" was one of the. It was one of the funniest specials, and the what I'm trying to do a little bit now with my writing, and I'm working on it, is do comedy that brings people together, because I remember laughing so hard watching "I Say Nay Nay" with my entire family.
Yeah, John Pinette was a genius.
A genius.
John Pinette. I actually got to meet John Pinette a couple of times. Very
Funniest.
nice.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
very nice.
Yeah.
He was very, very nice, very funny. He got really, really heavy, and then he lost a ton of weight. And unfortunately, I think it was just too late at that point. The damage was done.
Pinette's routine about going to a Chinese restaurant was just one of my favorite.
You go now.
You go
You
now.
here for hour.
Yeah, 4 hours.
You here for hour.
It was the
you
best.
eat the vegetable. It was hysterical. I don't know if you can do that bit now.
You don't think so? Yeah, you know what you say. You can't do anything anymore, man. It's unbelievable.
You know, people that know how to, they've seen an act come up and they kind of go like, here's the, you know, I basically do everything Gaffigan does. Like in Gaffigan told me, he's like, I did what John Pinette did. And like, you just kind of do that kind of thing. So I'm following a lot of his blueprint that's been laid out.
Weeks ago.
Right.
You remember John Pinette?
Yeah.
Man, he just hooked me, and I'm alone in my room, just literally, he got me. He and every line was making me laugh harder, and I was trying not to laugh so I could hear the next line. And I was like, oh man, this is such a beautiful thing. This guy just up there yelling about corn dogs.
He was one of the most caring, giving, open people I had ever met in my life. You know, you remember we said hi to John when I was filming Comics Unleashed. He was in the hallway and we were there.
Yes.
And again, you know, seeing John and him coming up to me and saying hello. And I would spend the whole weekend with John.
Yeah.
And John's routine, I already knew John's routine. I'd pick him up at the airport. He'd hand me $1,000 and he would say, go buy me 4 sets of sheets. And I want you to replace my sheets when I walk on stage. And then he would say, keep the change, which was usually like $300-400.
Yeah.
And then throughout the week, you know, he'd be like, hey, go get me some pot. I know you got a pot connection.
Yeah.
I'd go score him some weed. I'd bring him the weed and he'd, you know, I would go, hey man, the weed's $60, and he'd hand me a wad of hundreds and go keep it, you know.
Yeah.
And then we'd go eat amazing dinners because he was huge. He loved to eat, and we'd go eat these amazing dinners that I would never eat at, you know, if I wasn't hanging out with him. And then all of a sudden we're talking comedy, and John Pinette's asking me questions about my stand-up. And at that club there was a guy who was the kind of older guy who was the king of comedy in that town, if you will. And he would teach a class. And I remember him coming to me going, hey, you know, I'm teaching a class. You need to get in my class. And I probably shouldn't have said this to him. But in my thinking was, why am I going to go to your class and learn from a middle act in Dallas, Texas?
Yeah.
I'd rather sit down, change sheets for John Pinette, and be able to sit down with a guy that is for real doing it.
Right.
On a huge level. Right?
Yeah.
So I remember telling him that. was like, why would I learn from you, dude? Like, I eat dinner with John Pinette, man. Like,
John Pinette was talking about being sober once, and it was something that really stuck with me, where he said, because someone asked him, I forget who was interviewing him, but the interviewer asked, why do so many comedians have an alcohol problem? And he said, well, when you're at a motel in Topeka, if you have a half a bottle of Jack in you, you forget that you're at a motel in Topeka. I mean, there aren't a lot of jobs that you can drink at work and still do your job correctly. Like, it is a very lonely existence. It is and it's better now that, we are so connected as a society.
The late, great John Pinette, there's a documentary coming out, I believe, next year, and I saw you were involved in that. You were listed on IMDb, and I'm wondering how you knew John, but was it the Hairspray connection? Why. Yeah, there it is. He was amazing.
He was amazing.
Yeah, so how'd you get involved with that documentary? They reach out to you, or
They did, and it took me a second to actually, I had to think about it, because he was so close to my heart, and during that time when we were touring together, we were both kind of going through the exact same struggles in different ways. Just being alone on the road and wanting any kind of, affection or someone to look after us, because we were carrying the show at the time, and it was just really hard. And I think for John, because he was older than I was, the struggle was harder for him. And so, it took a minute for me to say, yes, I'll be a part of it, but I was in honor of him.
Amazing. Well, I'm very much looking. I didn't realize until I was looking at your page that project was coming. I was immediately very, very excited. I'm a fan of John. My family's loved that guy since.
He was an incredible
since
man.
the beginning of time. Since we discovered him on comedy, doing his comedy years and years ago.
Heart
and
is so huge.
Unbelievable.
It was so huge.
Really.
John Pinette was like that with me. I know he's gone. One of my first gigs to feature, they flew me to Las Vegas. And I didn't know who he was, and he asked me, "Are you a Vegas comic?" I said, "No, I'm from LA." He's like, "How much did it cost you to get here?" And I told him, probably with room and everything, it was around. And they paid me $500, and I spent most of it to get there. And then he was like, "Come to my office on Monday, and I'll write you a check." And I went to his office, and his manager, Larry Shapiro, wrote me a check for $500. So I had the money, and I'll never forget that he did that. And it was a real. When you start in comedy, you learn how to treat other comics by how kind comics are to you. And I don't know that comics ever gave me a real break, but once in a while when someone is kind like that, it sticks with you.
When comedians die, I know it's probably because I know some of them, but it hurts more.
John Pinette just died.
Yeah, right, Pinette. There's another great quote you've in here. So it sucks when funny people die. It sucks when unfunny people die too, but not as much.
So when he passed, both of us had a similar response immediately to his life being reduced to the fat guy on Seinfeld. What is his life and his career was so much more than that. When we were at the funeral, it just felt like somehow he wasn't being represented very well or very accurately.
The interesting thing about comedy, I think, Larry, right, is that comedians tell jokes. Brilliant comedians deliver jokes with a very specific point of view. And John had that point of view. Genius and dysfunctionality is on the head of a pin, right? And that point of view often comes from a very dark place. And the genius of John came from a very dark place.
The question is, he was in such a dark place, and seeing him go into that dark place, what could be done? Is there anything that can be done?
I think at what point in time does anything help or not help? I don't know that anything ever solves the problem. In fact, I'm pretty sure nothing ever solves the problem. I think if you can chip away at it, and we chipped away at it, and we got very lucky. And Hairspray they said it on the thing, it was a very lucky break. He was sober for the better part of 3 years during that run. If it weren't for that, and he was brilliant in the show. He was absolutely brilliant. In fact, Jack O'Brien, who was interviewed, the director of Hairspray, said John was his favorite partner. John is his favorite Edna, including Harvey. That's what.
But we couldn't use that.
We couldn't use that, of course.
So I want to say, so you guys have done this film, and it's an excellent film. It's a wonderful film. What do you want? What do you want this film to do? Open for it.
Well, you know, as Bob said, when John passed, for his memory to be that guy from the final episode of Seinfeld, was really angry. Created a lot of anger. And I think his comedy should live forever. He should go down with all of the greats. And I think if the film can play a part in that, that's what I want.
That's just not our opinion. I mean, yeah, I don't know if you saw how many interviews we did. I cannot tell you the number of comics who said a variation of what Bill Burr said, which is one of the top 5 live comics who ever lived.
Yeah, one of the comedians said that if there was a Mount Rushmore of comedy, John would be on.
I'd like to say one thing that something that was cut out from the film, and I asked Larry, why did you cut this out from the film? When John received the Comedian of the Year award, first thing he says is, "I'd like to thank my best friend Larry Shapiro." And I asked Larry, I said, "Why did you cut that out of the film?" And he said, "Because I don't want this to be about me. I want it to be about John." And I thought that would be a good way to leave it. And I think that's how.
Hello. I would like to thank George Slaughter for the lovely buffet before the festivities. Really was a hell of a meal, George. Thank you. And my manager and best friend, Larry Shapiro, my agent, Steve Levine. And I'd like to say hi to everybody back in Philadelphia and Boston, my family and friends, and all the great comics I started with. That's about it. And I got a chance to open for Mr. Sinatra a few times. Mr. Sinatra, part of this is for you. Thank you very much. Take care. Congratulations, my friend. Let's go down and let some people in. We'll be late. We are currently looking for John Pinette.
I am he.
You ain't heavy, you're my brother. I am. They found him at a buffet somewhere. Oh, Hershey's Kisses. Give me a hug. We're looking for John. He's either at Portillo's or at a buffet. If you were going to wait out in the cold, I was going to come and wait with you for a few minutes. Okay, thank you. I apologize. I'll sweat this much the first 5 minutes. Okay? Get out of the line. Now, when you order ice cream, you know what kind you want, don't you? No. Ah! Don't ever get in front of me, kid.
Hi, this is Debbie Gutierrez, and I'm here at the Hermosa Comedy and Magic Club, and they have these wall with all these different comedians from all different decades, and this John Pinette. Oh my gosh, I love that guy. I miss that guy. One of the kindest, funniest, most generous people with his time and his wit, and my heart still hurts. Great guy.